What can we expect tomorrow?
Well, I think one important thing as we look at these live pictures, Nick, is that the wedge has really helped us. If you think about cooler air, when there's no warmth, there's no fuel for storms. So because we've been wedged in with these cool, cloudy, and kind of chilly conditions, there's been nothing to prompt any additional thunderstorms. But tomorrow, we're really looking at a pretty good chance that that could break at times. But there have been some small, even minor changes since we saw you at 6 o'clock. So let's talk about what they are. We are still wedged in tonight. We're seeing areas of light rain, seeing some drizzle, of course, the patchy fog too. Not officially under a dense fog advisory like we were last night for a few counties, but just give yourself a few extra minutes tomorrow morning, especially because really it will probably already be raining by the time you're waking up. You add in the fog and it doesn't make for a very pretty commute. Here's where the storm system that we're tracking is now, though. It's actually well off to the west. We actually have to go even further. This is the same line I was showing you earlier. It was making its way through Louisiana. Now it's in the eastern part here of Mississippi, pushing into Alabama. Notice all these colors here, the pink tornado warnings right now. Orange are severe thunderstorm warnings, and then active severe thunderstorm watches in the yellow. So this is a major large system, but as it's coming through, the timing of it coming could actually help us here in the Carolinas, at least from the risk of isolated tornadoes. So here's where the tornado risk is primarily there today. You can see that high risk of severe weather. Eventually this does shift a little bit closer to us tomorrow, but this is just the overall risk of severe weather itself. The tornado risk is actually much further south, and it's because really of the wedge. When we get wedged in with colder air, you're probably used to seeing the pictures where we talk about how it's cold and chilly from Charlotte to the mountains, but areas east and south are a little bit warmer. Well, that's because the cold air, when it gets trapped on the east side of the mountains, it can only go so far east. Eventually, it gets broken or out of that wedge situation. If we see enough of this cold air stick around tomorrow morning, it is going to significantly lower our risk of tornadoes because of a lack of instability to rotate. However, that doesn't mean that we won't see the potential for severe weather. That's why we're expecting that first line to come in mid to late morning into the early afternoon. But this first line, this is going to contain all of those gusty winds. We're also starting to see signs in this line of less kinks, which is what we look at, of course, when it comes to tornadoes. So I really think that this primary line here that comes in again late morning, early afternoon is going to be focused and honed in on gusty winds. Primary time frame for the Charlotte metro area is 9 to 3. It will be a little bit earlier for those mountain communities, closer to 5 and 6 at the time that it starts. That first line works its way through and actually should be completely out of here by about 2 or 3 o'clock. But at the same time, we will be watching a few storms, kind of stragglers on the backside of the cold front. Now, at the same point, we will start to see the wedge break. At this point, it does look like the wedge could break enough to get temperatures into the 60s, which could be enough fuel here for this secondary line after 4 p.m. to see some of those quick spin ups. So as of right now, we want everyone to be weather aware again from 9 to 3 p.m. primarily due to the gusty winds, but we will have to keep an eye on these storms until about 6 o'clock that are on the back end of the system. They should be completely out of here by about 8 p.m. and then we are good to go. So I don't want us to put our guard down just because we say tornadoes. I oftentimes think that people are more concerned about tornadoes because it's something you can visually see much easier than wind, but winds are actually our biggest impact here in the Carolinas. In fact, 90% of our damage from severe storms happens from winds. So high winds will be the case really in the forecast all day long from the morning all the way through the middle part of the afternoon. But if you notice here on the storm impacts and timing, I have shifted that higher risk for tornadoes a little bit later on in the afternoon. Small hail still a possibility. Still could see some isolated flooding. But again, the gusty winds are virtually all day, but the tornado risk has shifted a little bit further south and a little bit later on in the day. So please encouraging folks again to stay weather aware. Hey, maybe if your friends or family are coming back from some kind of vacation or they're leaving or they live across the other parts of the deep south. My best friend and my family live in Atlanta. I'm keeping them weather aware too. So please make sure you let them know that storms are happening tomorrow. We will get a little bit drier heading into the first few days of 2025. And Nick, I hope you didn't put the hoodies away just yet because it actually looks like the first full week of the new year could see highs in the upper 40s to near 50 and multiple mornings with the 20s back.
No, I just ordered another one today, Brittany.
Good to know.
Add it to the collection.